Welcome to Science Unsnarled. I am excited that you are joining me today. My name is Deanne, and I am a curriculum consultant at Rainbow Resource Center. This workshop is one that is dear to my heart. You see, science was always boring to me in grade school. When I hit high school and college, I found science very difficult, although by the grace of God and much white-knuckled studying, I completed my RN degree. Fast forward 20 years, and suddenly I'm a homeschool mom struggling to teach science. That is until I met people passionate about science, people who inspired me to fall in love with the natural world. When it came time to dissect the owl pellets and cow heart with my children, I was all in. Science was fun, and it had meaning. Here at Rainbow, we have a team of curriculum consultants to answer your questions. And like you, some of us love science, while others react so strongly to the thought of teaching science that they avoid it at all costs. And then there is the rest that land neatly between the two. Today, I want to talk about the factors that will impact your decision in choosing science curriculum. Here at Rainbow, we call those your family factors. So grab a cup of coffee or tea and let's get started. Unlike math and language arts, there are no federal Common Core state standards for science. However, there are suggested standards called Framework for K-12 Science Education and the Next Gen Science Standards. They have been adopted by many, but not all the states. Like the Common Core standards, there are pros and cons. It is good to prioritize a strong foundation in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. On the flip side, topics are often covered widely without depth. There is also the danger of moving children too quickly through the material before they are able to understand the concepts. Sadly, the focus becomes passing the standardized test and not learning the science process or developing complex problem-solving skills. So what does this mean to us as homeschoolers? We should be aware of what our state requires of us. This information can be found at most state education websites or at the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. If you are using your local state education website, be sure to search the homeschool science requirements. States may have different requirements for schools and homeschoolers. We will also want to understand the curriculum choices available and how they meet or don't meet standards. Know the children you will be teaching. How do they learn best? Is science something they enjoy? If you're teaching older children, is a science-based career in their future? Once armed with this information, select a curriculum that meets the needs of your learner. If you are required to meet standards, there are several curriculum available, but don't feel that they are the only options. If a non-standards-based curriculum is a better fit for your child, it is possible to add a standards-based supplemental workbook, like the Spectrum Science or Evan Moore Daily Science. If they love science, find a program that will feed their interests. Science lovers and even those resistors may enjoy a curriculum that focuses on their personal interests. For example, Apologia Zoology or Real Science Odyssey Astronomy. Whether a new or seasoned homeschooler, I imagine at this point you have talked to your friends and searched the web looking for science curriculum. And I suspect you heard lots of opinions about what is best. Well, friends, I have some good news and some bad news for you. First, the bad news. There is no perfect curriculum to teach science or any other subject. The good news, however, is that there is a perfect, or should I say nearly perfect curriculum for your family. Here at Rainbow, we recognize that families are not the same, which is the reason we offer hundreds of options. As a company, we want to provide you with the opportunity to find the best fit for your family. Let's look at how you can find the best fit through our easy-to-remember yet effective acronym, FAMILY. You can use this acronym to choose curriculum in all subject areas, but in this video, I will focus on the key family factors for choosing science curriculum. If you would like to see a general overview of the family acronym, see our Family Way workshop online. So let's get started. The F in our acronym refers to faith and philosophy. One of the first considerations in choosing a science program is the worldview of the author or publisher. If you look at the Rainbow Resource Center curriculum comparison chart for science, you will notice that we separate religious content into three areas: Christian, neutral, and secular. Let's quickly define these terms. Christian materials are founded on the belief that God created. Most publishers of homeschool curriculum teach from a young Earth perspective, meaning the Earth is roughly 6,000 years old. Examples of this would be the Apology of Science, the Master Book Science, and the God's Design for Science published by Answers in Genesis. There are a couple of publishers that teach from a creation perspective, but allow flexibility for parents to teach the age of the earth based on their personal beliefs. Reason for Science teaches creation without defining the age of the earth. The Instructor Guide encourages parents to share their personal beliefs about the earth age with their children. Sunlight Science takes a similar approach. Written from a Christian worldview, many of the core living books include evolution or an old earth timeline. The Instructor Guide gives teachers helpful information on how to teach alternate views while giving you freedom to teach from your beliefs. Novare Science, now available from Classical Academic Press, offers middle and high school science curriculum that promotes God's magnificent kingdom through the lens of current scientific understanding. Often called an old earth science perspective, they believe that science supports a universe that is 13.7 billion years old and the earth is 4.6 billion years old. Our next designation is neutral. Neutral simply means that the author has decided to not teach origins. There is no creation, there is no evolution. The subject is completely avoided. Examples of neutral curriculum would be the Gravitas Press, Real Science for Kids, Focus on Science, or they're exploring the building blocks of science. Real Science for Kids takes a one-semester in-depth look at the different sciences like chemistry, physics, biology, astronomy, and so forth. These courses are multi-level, meaning they cover different age ranges, particularly K through 3 and 4 through 6. The author does recommend that all students begin with chemistry. She has also made available the Exploring the Building Blocks series, which is a grade-specific course for K through 7 that teaches all of the branches of science in 1 year. Also available from a neutral perspective is Elemental Science, which is a classical approach to science for kindergarten through 7th grade, and at the upper levels, there is the Paradigm Accelerated Curriculum middle and high school courses, which offer an independent approach and uses text and activity books without labs. Secular materials are often from a mainstream educational publisher. They will teach evolution and the Big Bang Theory to explain how we came to exist. These materials may include sexuality and environmental issues from a political correct viewpoint. Science curriculum from a secular publisher would include Science Dimensions, My Pals Are Here Science, and the Real Science Odyssey. Knowing the worldview of the publisher will help you find a program that will align with your beliefs. As you consider the faith and philosophy of a curriculum, there are other personal factors to consider. Here are just a few conversations I have had with other parents. I am a Christian, but I have bought some Christian curriculum that my friends told me about, and it's not a good fit for our family. It just doesn't line up with what we believe. Or maybe this describes you. We are a religious family, but I want to teach academics apart from religion. Here at Rainbow, we also work with many families that homeschool through a public charter school and use state funds for curriculum purchase, which will also have an impact on the decision. The key here is to trust your instincts and use the family way structure to make the best decision for your family. The curriculum your neighbor or church friend raves about may not be right for you. Our next letter in our family acronym is A, which refers to approaches. Understanding an author or publisher's educational approach helps you understand which programs fit you and your student best. Let's look at the common approaches and some advantages and disadvantages. First is the traditional textbook. Traditional textbooks are grade-specific and include content from the 3 branches of science: life, physical, and earth and space science. This is most familiar to all of us as it's how we would have learned in school. The advantages of this approach include taking less teacher time for planning. The tests make it easy for you to assign a grade, and they typically will meet those standards. Disadvantages include less freedom for a flexible schedule or to study more in depth the things your children are interested in. Their other topics are also covered on the surface without a lot of depth. And finally, the emphasis really is on that short-term mastery and test taking. If you would like to learn more about curriculum from a traditional approach, options are available from secular and Christian publishers, including Holt and Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, which are secular publishers, or Christian publishers Purposeful Design from ACSI, Bob Jones University Press, and A Reason for Science. Next is the Charlotte Mason approach, which may also be called Nature Studies or the Living Books approach. The heart of a nature study is studying the world around us. There are common threads, but the study of nature is unique to each family. For a successful nature study, you will need to be outdoors. If you're not able to be outdoors, you will need to recreate habitats with anthills, aquariums, and the like. You will also need excellent living books, field guides, science or nature encyclopedias, and observation tools like binoculars or magnifying glasses. Pencils, colored pencils, and sketch paper should also be available for creating a nature journal based on your observations and research. If you are not familiar with the term living books, this refers to books written by someone with a passion for the subject. Most living books are written in a conversational or narrative style. Examples of living books include Let's Read and Find Out About Science, The Magic School Bus, The Cat in the Hat Learning Library, and books written by Jeannie Bendick like Along Came Galileo and Mystery of the Periodic Table. The advantages of this approach include the ability to capture children's interests. You also can help guide your children to teach themselves. And this approach works really well for teaching children at different ages. The main disadvantage includes the cost. It can be more costly if you build a personal library of living books and resources. To save money, you can use the library for some of these resources, which allows you to purchase frequently used books or your family favorites. Additionally, there are no formal assessments, making it more difficult to assign a grade. A few of my favorite resources to create your own nature study are the Nature Connection, the Handbook of Nature Study, and the Thinking Tree Fun Schooling Nature Journal Handbook, 12 Months in the Forest. Some families find they need more structure, especially when they begin following the Charlotte Mason philosophy. Thankfully, a couple of publishers have provided curriculum that are founded on this philosophy. If you would like to look into a Charlotte Mason curriculum, be sure to check out Apologia Elementary Science Curriculum and Queen Homeschool's Discovering Nature, which are both from a Christian perspective. There's also Sassafras Science, which offers a neutral presentation, or the secular course Joy Hakom's Story of Science. Next is the unit study approach, which takes one topic and studies all or nearly all academic subjects as they relate to that topic. For example, a unit study on birds may include bird anatomy, the building of nests, flight and migration for science, the history of bird watching, famous bird watchers, and maps of migrations for social studies, and copywork, poem memorization, vocabulary, and research in your language arts. For math, you can measure flight distances. Advantages of the unit study approach. Probably the number one advantage is that children of all ages can learn together. You also have the flexibility to go deeper to accommodate a child's specific interest. However, there are also disadvantages. The teacher involvement is almost always high, and unit studies do not follow a traditional scope and sequence and will not align to your standards. Finally, let's take a quick look at the classical approach to science. When looking for science curriculum from a classical approach, you may notice that recommended topics or subjects are studied in the four-year pattern that corresponds to the classical timeline. Advantages to this approach include that the classical approach is known to be academically rigorous. There is also continuity between science and history. A couple of disadvantages, though, include the classical studies may be too rigid for some students. And this approach also does not follow that traditional scope and sequence, and many will not align to standards. If you would like to check out curriculum from the classical approach, take time to learn more about elemental science, Memoria Press, Novare, just to name a couple. One of the most important keys to success in teaching science is not only understanding the different approaches to teaching, but finding the one that is the best fit for you and your child. So let's move on to our other family factors. Our next letter in our family acronym is M, which represents money. Out of all the family factors, this is the one that people don't like to talk about. Honestly, as much as we want to ignore cost factors, few of us have the luxury of indifference. Most of the years I homeschooled, my budget was small. There was at least 1 year that I had $300 available to buy curriculum for both my children. When you consider that the average homeschool family spends $900 in 1 year for one child, you realize I learned to be flexible and creative. While the $900 per child per year is an average, keep in mind that there are many homeschoolers that spend far less and some that spend far more. You have choices, and if budget is a concern, we can help you find workable options. For example, if you have children who are closer in age, there are numerous publishers who have created the multi-level courses. This means that their science texts cover more than one grade, so you can teach all of your children from the same book at the same time, which saves money and time. This is also usually more fun for children and parents alike. If you would like to look at multi-level texts, Apologia's Elementary Science, Berean Builders Elementary Science, Science Shepherd Elementary and Middle School Science are great multi-level courses from a Christian perspective. If you prefer a neutral or secular perspective, you may want to look at Focus on Science or Sassafras Science, which are neutral, and the Real Science Odyssey, which is a secular option for multiple ages. It is often less expensive to teach science at home in the early and middle school years. At the high school level, there may be additional costs for curriculum and the home lab supplies. There are ways to help you keep the cost down in high school, however. You can join a co-op and share the cost of lab equipment, or you can use online resources for labs and dissections if they will meet your high school science credit. In our Science Unsnarled handout, we list numerous online resources to help you teach high school science. The key here is, yes, homeschooling costs money, but you can still provide a great education on a budget with a little creativity. Additional resources may be available to assist you with the homeschooling finances, including the HSLDA Widows Fund, Rainbow Resource Center's First Fruits program, or the public charter school option if it's available in your state. You can find more information about these options through an online search. The I in our acronym represents individuals. Choosing curriculum that fits our children's learning needs is important in all subject areas. The beautiful thing about most science curriculum is that it will meet the needs of different types of learners, such as visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Quickly, let's review the different types of learning styles. First is the visual learner. This child is easily distracted by new sights. They're often good at doing puzzles and may be very aware of visual details and drawings. Interestingly, they may respond well to colorful illustrations and graphics, although some find this distracting. Many visual learners will also do well with video learning or watching an experiment or activity rather than doing it themselves. Next is the auditory learner. Auditory learners like to talk a lot, even to themselves. They will often read out loud or respond orally to the storyline. Even in the upper levels like high school, they may continue to read aloud to themselves. Auditory learners are able to follow oral instruction well. They may be able to tell you the answer but have trouble expressing it on paper. Auditory learners may be able to retain the information better using audiobooks, videos, or through the reading aloud. The kinesthetic and tactile learner are often grouped together in learning style categories as they are similar but not identical in their traits. When you consider science curriculum, you may find that the curriculum that meets the need of a kinesthetic learner may or may not meet the need of a tactile learner. Here are a few notable differences. Kinesthetic learners need to move. They wiggle, tap, swing their legs. They just can't sit still. They learn through their bodies and their sense of touch. They learn quickly if allowed to do as they are learning. Active games or learning motions that reinforce the teaching are helpful. Think the itsy bitsy spider for little ones. Tactile learners, on the other hand, primarily learn through the sense of touch and fine motor movements rather than moving the whole body. Tactile learners learn best through hands-on activities and love to show you what they have learned through projects. While finding a curriculum specific to individual learning styles may be valuable, there is also value in teaching to all of the learning styles. I really love what Carol Barnett says in her book, The Big What Now Book of Learning Styles. Focus on the three main learning paths, seeing, hearing, moving, and teach to all of them. The L in our acronym represents life. Let's take a look at your current season of life. Are you teaching preschoolers or high schoolers, or both and everyone in between? Are there any significant upcoming life events such as pregnancy, or there's health issues, or you're moving? Life has an impact on the time we have available to teach science. Flexibility is key. Give yourself permission to make changes, even to that beloved curriculum you've been using for several years. If you are teaching upcoming or current high schoolers, look at the science requirements in your state, including the requirements for labs. Also check the requirements for the career path they are interested in right now. This can usually be found on the website of the college they plan to attend or a local state college website. Remember that planning your homeschool around your life puts you in control and helps you stay the course. The Y in our acronym refers to you. Our last consideration is one of the most important factors in choosing curriculum. How much time do you have available? Do you work part-time outside the home or have a home-based business? How much structure do you need? Do you need the support of a teacher guide with laid out lessons or more freedom with your studies? Are you okay with the mess of hands-on activities? Will you be okay dissecting at the kitchen table? It may not be as bad as you think. The key is that you matter and your needs matter. Find a way to balance your individual teaching needs and your child's learning needs. Talk through this with your spouse, a friend, or reach out to us here at Rainbow Resource Center. We will listen and help you find a plan to fit your family situation. I realize we have flown through a lot of information. I only want to leave you with one final key thought. There is not a one-size-fits-all curriculum that works for every family. You have the freedom to select the best one for your family, and that is exciting. Thank you for joining me today. We are happy to answer your questions. Feel free to call us at 888-841-3456 or email consultants@rainbowresource.com. You can also live chat with us on our website during regular business hours.